For this exercise, you must have the version control software named Git installed on your computer. You were instructed to install Git in the first course of this bootcamp, Python Fundamentals. If you have Git installed, you should be able to open any bash terminal and type git space -- version and get a response showing the version that you have. If that doesn't work for you, then you need to install Git. Look in the text instructions for this exercise below the video, and you'll find the links for the installation instructions for Windows and Mac OS. Once you have Git installed, the next thing you need for this exercise is a GitHub account. GitHub is the most popular platform for hosting and managing Git repositories online. To be clear, it's not the only one, but it's the most widely used. If you don't already have a GitHub account, then now is the time to get over to GitHub's website and make yourself an account. Make sure that you verify your email address after you create your account. After you're logged into your GitHub account, the next thing that you need to do is create a personal access token. If you don't have one already, follow the text instructions to create this token. Your token will be a long string of random characters. You should save it somewhere private and safe where you won't lose it, like a password. You can put me on pause now if you need to, then come back once you've created the token. Okay, let's get started. We're now going to create a new remote repository on GitHub. There's a couple different ways you can do this. If your browser is at github.com and you are logged in, then you should see a green button here next to the word repositories that says new. You can click this, or you can use this plus button here and choose new repository. Either way, you end up at this page to, surprise, create a new repository. For this first new repository for this course, type in the name gh_non-collab, just like this. You can leave everything else as is and click the Create Repository button at the bottom. The next page will give you some options for what to do next. We'll be using this first option, this first set of instructions to create a new repository on the command line. We'll come back to this page, so go ahead and leave it open. Next, we need to create a local Git repository. A local Git repository is one that exists on your own computer, not remotely online. The idea is that you will have a local Git repository, and it will be linked to the remote repository in such a way that you can push code from the local repo to the remote one, or pull code from the remote repo to the local one. So, how do we create a local Git repository? Well, first, we need a folder on our local file system. You can make a new folder using File Explorer or Finder or VS Code, but for this video, I'm going to do it from a bash terminal, and you should follow along with me for the practice. Here, I have a Git bash window. In Mac OS, you can use the Terminal app, or in either OS, you can use the VS Code Integrated Terminal. It doesn't matter as long as you're in a bash terminal. I'm going to navigate to the 3-DevOps folder like so. cd space /desktop/new camp folder /python/3-DevOps. Here I'm using tab completion to type faster. That means you can start typing just a part of a folder name, then press tab, and bash will fill in the rest. In the 3-DevOps folder, I'm going to create a week 1 folder using the mkdir makedir command. Then I'll enter this folder with the cd change directory command. And now I'm going to make another folder named github_non-collab. Then I'll cd into it as well. So at this point, you should have a terminal open, and you should be inside the github_non-collab folder. If you're not sure where you are, you can always type pwd, and it will tell you your current location, your working directory. Make sure that the last part of the output from this command ends with 3-devops/week1/github_non-collab. Now let's go back to the GitHub webpage that we were shown after creating the remote repository that I asked you to keep open. Let's briefly go over what these lines mean. This first line is the bash command that takes a string and adds it to a file named readme.md. The .md extension stands for Markdown. The Markdown language is a way to add basic formatting to text files. The string that we are adding to this file is this #gh_non-collab. In the Markdown language, a hash symbol is used to format a line of text in a bigger font size. It's used for headers. So this is creating a very simple README file that has the name of the remote repository as the header. Go ahead and copy that command over to your terminal and run it. You won't get any kind of confirmation message, but as long as you don't get an error message, it should have worked. Let's check by entering ls. Remember, ls is the command to list the contents of the current folder. As you can see, the readme.md file has been created and exists in this folder now. We can peek at the contents of this file using the cat command, cat readme.md. This will print the contents of the file to the screen, and you can see that the string that we wanted to add to this file is indeed in there. Let's go back to GitHub. This next line is git init. This command will use the Git software installed on your computer to set up the folder that you use it in as a local Git repository. Let's type it in right now. You will get some sort of confirmation message like this. And if you are in Windows, you'll see the word main here inside parentheses. You probably won't see this in macOS, and that's okay. This may also say master instead of main, and that's okay too. We'll address that in a moment. So the git init command has initialized a local repository in this folder. This next command, git add readme.md, is taking the readme.md file that we created, and we're adding it to what's called the local repository's staging area. What does that mean? It's where we mark the files that we want to include in the next commit snapshot. Okay, so what's a commit snapshot? A commit snapshot is basically a new version of your repository that includes all the changes that you've made since the last commit. So this next line you see here, git commit -m, quote, first commit, end quote, creates a new commit snapshot. The -m is a flag meaning message, and the first commit string is a message that describes what's going on with this commit. This fifth line, git branch -m main, changes the name of the current branch of the local repository to main. If your local branch is already named main, you don't need to use this, but it doesn't hurt either. This sixth line, git remote add origin, will link the local repository with a remote repository as the origin, the central repository for this project. On your computer, this should show the URL to your GitHub repository. Go ahead and copy that and paste it over. This final line, git push -u origin main, pushes the code that you committed in your local repository to the remote repository, setting it as the upstream, -u stands for upstream, and completing the link. After you press enter on this command, if this is your first time pushing to a GitHub repository, you'll be asked to authenticate. I won't be asked to authenticate because this isn't my first rodeo, but it may be your first rodeo. Most likely, if you are on macOS, you'll be asked to enter a username and password. This will be your GitHub username and your GitHub personal access token that you created and copied down earlier, not your GitHub password. If you are on Windows, most likely you'll see a pop-up that asks if you want to sign in with your browser or enter your personal access token. You can use other option, but I find it easier to sign in with my browser. Back in GitHub, click the gh_non-collab link at the top of the page, and you should be able to see the readme.md file along with a commit message. That proves that your push was successful. Next, open the GitHub-non-collab folder in VS Code. I'll do that here by typing code space dot, or you can use the File Open Folder option in VS Code. Here, go ahead and create a new folder named src, which is short for source. In this folder, create a new file named helloworld.py. Make sure that this file is inside the source folder. It should be indented one level, not at the same level as readme.md. Inside this file, let's create a function called main that simply prints hello world, and then we'll call that function. Make sure to save it, then open your integrated terminal. If you have opened this folder correctly in VS Code, the terminal should automatically open to the GitHub_non-collab folder. Type in the command git space status. This is an informational command that shows you what branch we're on, whether you're up to date with the origin, the remote repository, and what files have been changed or added that are not yet tracked by Git. Notice that the source folder appears in this list. Let's go ahead and add this folder with git space add space dot. Now the dot here is a shortcut that says we want to add all the new and updated files and folders that are in the current GitHub_non-collab folder to the staging area. When you press enter, you won't see any kind of message. But if you check git status again, you'll see that there are now changes to be committed. The file helloworld.py in the source folder. If we wanted, we could do some more work, add some more files to the staging area with git add. But right now we're going to stop here and make a commit snapshot with git commit -m add helloworld.py like this. Now that we've made a new commit to our local repository, we want to sync up the remote repository as well. And we can do that with simply git space push. Back in GitHub, if we refresh our remote repository, you should be able to see the source folder, and you can go inside it and look at the helloworld.py file. Git uses a concept called branching. When you are adding new code to a Git repository or changing something, such as to fix a bug, you will typically create a new branch. This branch works essentially like a separate version of the code repository. You can make changes on it without affecting the central main branch. When you are satisfied with the changes you've made, your branch can be merged with the main branch. This is especially useful in a team environment so that multiple people can work on the same code base at the same time without interfering with each other. Let's take a look at how this works. Go ahead and click on the root directory and then click this main button you see here. We're going to create a new branch named feature. Go ahead and type in the word feature here. Then click this link, create branch feature from main. You see now that this button says feature and it says 2 branches next to it. If you like, you can click on this 2 and it will show you a page of information about the branches in this repository. Next, let's make a change to our local repository on this branch. Back in VS Code, let's update helloworld.py by making a new function, helloworld, with the parameter of city, and we'll have this print hello world from whatever that city is. And we'll update the main function so that instead of printing hello world, it calls the hello world function with a string argument of NYC. Go ahead and save that. Then in our terminal, let's check git status. You can see that Git knows that we've made a modification to hello-world.py. We'll go ahead and add this. And again, we can check its status and it knows that we have a change to be committed. So let's go ahead and commit this. Git commit -m push changes to feature branch. Next, we'll use the git branch -m feature command. This renames our current branch main to feature. Then we'll use git push -u origin feature to push the last commit that we made to the remote repository. Now when we go back to our GitHub repository, we see this message that feature had recent pushes less than a minute ago. We'll come back to this. But first, I want you to notice that currently I'm in the main branch here. So if I go to the source folder and click on hello-world.py, I'm still going to see the old version of this file. Again, this is because I'm in the main branch. Let's go back to the root folder by clicking gh_none-collab, and now we can click on the compare and pull request button here. When a git push is made to a branch other than the base main branch, you'll then need to open a pull request for the new code to be merged into the main branch. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see what's called a diff view, D-I-F-F as in difference, that shows the changes that have been made. So you see both the old version and the new version of hello-world.py. This is to help you or whoever is making the pull request confirm what code is being requested to be merged. Go ahead and scroll up, and you can see that the last commit message we used is being used for the title of this pull request, and we can also optionally add more details in this comment box. Let's write hello world with city as input. Then go ahead and click on create pull request. You should see this message. This branch has no conflicts with the base branch. Merging can be performed automatically. This is the best case scenario. Sometimes there will be conflicts, which we'll explore later, and then additional work must be done before the merging can be performed. But in this case, we can simply click merge pull request. Then you'll be asked to confirm the merge. Go ahead and click that. And if all went well, you should see this message, pull request successfully merged and closed. You're all set. The feature branch can be safely deleted. All the code from the feature branch has been merged into the main branch, so it's totally fine to delete the feature branch rather than just leave it hanging. So go ahead and do that. And now if you go back to the source folder and click on hello-world.py, you should be able to see the code that was merged from the feature branch. With that, we'll conclude our introduction to Git and GitHub and continue on to learn more about team collaboration.